You have two pieces, and I just want to quote one of them. First, you said that what unites Muslims in their anger against Charlie Hebdo is the vulgar manner in which Muhammad has been portrayed. Stéphane Charbonnier, the paper's publisher, was killed today in the slaughter. It's too bad he didn't understand the role he played in his tragic death. He also said, you quoted a quote from him from 2012, "Muhammad isn't sacred to me. Had he not been so narcissistic, he may still be alive." And you also get into free speech in your second statement today. There are a lot of people who really disagree with that and feel that you are blaming the victim here. What do you say to those people?
Well, there's a difference between a justification and an explanation. I'm trying to explain that there's more to this story than Muslim barbarians. Who's to blame? It's obviously these people who are the killers. What should we do about them? Shoot them if we have to. I'm no fan of barbarians. What I'm simply saying is this. There's another issue here which no one ever seems to want to talk about, and that is the abuse of liberty by these so-called artists who actually have more in common with pornographers like Larry Flynt. And then they act like little virgins who scream, "Oh my God, people are offended," and they get ticked off at me when I intentionally put my middle finger right in their face about their religion. I am sick and tired of people hiding under the First Amendment and not taking responsibility for their behavior.
Well, I don't know if, because you had said before, you had also written that it was provoking them. I'm not quite sure that, I don't think you can provoke someone to murder. I mean, what is the justification for, I don't think that murder is justification for provocation.
Well, I already just said that this is not a justification. It's an explanation. Let me give you an example. If a woman goes home and she shoots her husband, she's a murderer. But we have a whole lot more sympathy for her, don't we? If she does so after she has been summarily beaten for several years. We don't say that she's exculpated. We say she's guilty.
Kind of a different comparison.
But we want to look at what's going on in the totality of this arena. We're talking here about toilet speech. We're not talking here about satire.
Well, not necessarily. Let me give you a couple examples. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Theo Van Gogh, all of this really began hitting the press with Theo Van Gogh. He worked with Somali-born writer Ayaan Hirsi Ali. They did a short film called Submission. And it was a very respectful documentary, and it was simply highlighting the suffering and treatment of women in Islam. Theo Van Gogh was killed for that. He was killed because of that film. Was that an unjustifiable provocation?
Well, of course, these people are wrong. These people are murderers. They have to be stopped. They don't exercise restraint at all. I'm simply saying is if we want to have less of this, one way we can go about it, although we'll never convince the hardcore ISIS people, I understand that. One way we can go about it is to stop with the idea that freedom of speech is an absolute and that you can do whatever you want in the name of it. Freedom of speech is a means toward an end. This idea of freedom as an end in itself is a bastardization of freedom properly understood in Western civilization, and now we're paying the price and the cleanup for this mess.
So you would have people say nothing, because a lot of the depictions of Muhammad were not even vulgar at all. They would just be Muhammad on a piece of paper, and someone's going to lose their head for it.
No, what I'm saying is this. The idea of maximizing individual rights does not lead to more freedom. It leads to less freedom. And what we need to do is to have self-censorship, because if we don't censor ourselves,
so you are advocating for censorship, though. So you are advocating advocating for censorship, though.
You do it on your program, don't you? If I actually use the word that we call the N-word, wouldn't I be bleeped, miss?
But we're talking about a drawing of Muhammad. Are you comparing just a simple drawing of Muhammad to the N-word?
I'm picking up on
So are you comparing but it's analogous. Are you comparing a documentary of the treatment of women in Islam to the N-word?
I think everybody understands that I'm not.
No, I don't think so.
The point I'm making is this. If we don't censor ourselves, if we act like brats and barbarians, cultural fascists, and go out there and intentionally insult people, then we're going to create a moral anarchic society, and then people will demand order. We saw what happened in Germany in the 1920s with the Weimar Republic. People took freedom to extremes. It led to moral degeneration. And then along came a guy, by the name of Hitler, who came in and said, we're going to take care of this. We're going to give you the order you want. I don't want that. And I don't want the Muslim barbarians being allowed to get away with this. But let's put some freedom, some responsibility on the artist and not pretend.
You consider cartoons to be extreme?
Well, if you show Muhammad as the victim of anal sex, I think that's pretty extreme. To you?
Well, you're citing one cartoon. I mean, we have a ton of different cartoons. They were firebombed before that was even published. They were attacked because they showed him sitting in a chair. Is that vulgar?
Oh, I have no doubt that these people, as I said before, will continue to kill us.
Well, where do you draw the line, though? Because anything can be a provocation. Selena Gomez had to take a photo down because she was pictured in front of a mosque and her ankle showed. There's anything can provoke. It's the perpetual offensive. They're perpetually offended, Islamists are. So where do you draw the line? There was a woman in Pakistan. She's on death row right now. Right. She had said to another woman that her savior was Jesus Christ. I don't think you would argue that as president of the Catholic League. She said, I believe in my religion and in Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for the sins of mankind. She's going to die because she said that. So where do you draw the line? Is that offensive and vulgar? Because she's meeting the same fate that Charlie Hebdo did.
By judges, by teachers, that's what people do. Olympics judges, everybody draws a line someplace, and we can have a reasonable argument about where to draw it. My point is this: you need to draw a line. Freedom without boundaries leads to libertinism, which eventually leads to liberticide, or the end of liberty. Freedom is not license. Now,
do you apply this to expressions of our Christian faith?
I'm sorry?
Do you apply this to expressions of our Christian faith?
I apply it to any type of obscene portrayal and claiming that they are champions of freedom.
Well, they view profession of Christian faith as obscene, so would you draw the line there?
No, listen, there are people out there, crazed Muslims, unfortunately, and not just a few of them, who want to kill people because they are Christians or Jews.
But the Saudi Arabian government isn't crazed. You can't proselytize in Saudi Arabia. You would be.
Yeah, I know. But
so
see,
where do you draw the line?
There's a reluctance for you to engage me on the question that I am raising,
no,
which is,
I think there's a reluctance
right?
for you to answer. I'm asking you where you would draw the line.
If people have a legal right to insult my religion, which I agree they do, and that's why you have to stop these Muslim barbarians.
Right.
The next part of this is, do they have a moral right to insult my religion? And the answer is they do not. That's why I say the Muslims are right to be angry, even if they're wrong to go out and kill people.
It's a moral right to have someone not draw Muhammad on a piece of paper?
Did I say that?
Well, you just said there's moral rights, and then there's, yeah, I mean, you basically just
said there are legal rights and there are moral rights.
So my point is that I think you're on a slippery slope here. And what concerns me is that you're talking about, you really won't say where you would put the line down. They view expressions of Christian faith as being obscene and vulgar. If you proselytize in Saudi Arabia, you're in jail. In fact, the top 10 most dangerous places in the world for Christians are all Muslim countries. So where do you draw the line?
Dana, stop the lecture. I took out an ad in the New York Times, which I wrote last fall, condemning these barbarians for precisely this. I don't need to be educated on that subject. What I'm trying to say
I thought we were having a discussion.
The abuse of freedom by these artists creates more problems, and we should hold them accountable.
So you're blaming the staff of Charlie Hebdo. They brought it on themselves?
I'm saying that to unnecessarily provoke people is not good, even if the reaction by these barbarians can never be justified.
So should Asia Bibi in Pakistan, should she die because she unnecessarily provoked another Muslim woman when she expressed her faith in Jesus?
No.
Okay, well, where do you draw the line then? That's my point.
How many times have I said it on your program already?
But the thing is that it's incongruent. It's incongruent, and the logic is not the logic is invalid. That's what I'm pointing out. I mean, you're saying that we need to censor ourselves. When has that ever worked? Right. When has that ever worked, Bill? When has censoring ourselves?
It works on your show.
When has censoring ourselves? No, just because out of personal preference, why do I need to use that? I'm much smarter, and I have a million other adjectives from which to choose. But you're deflecting. Exactly my point is, where do you draw the line, Bill? Where do you draw the line?
As I said,
talking about Christ offends them. That's vulgar provocation.